What's up, guys? This is a business talk for the ages. This is a talk about life. This is coming from someone where my attitude is I'm always trying to do more. You know, stop trying to look for ways to do less. You know, God will reward the hardest workers in the room. Will usually be those who succeed the most. I do business. That's what I do for my life. There will be plenty of video games when I die and go to where I'm going. I'm very familiar with what's going to happen when I die. When I die, there will be plenty of fucking video games and chasing around girls and pleasures and stuff. Girls, my concept of girls and male female relations is like a lot different now today than it was when I was 18 or 16 or when I had my kid. My concept of sex now is like I don't give a shit about that shit. I really do just want people to recognize that the male worship of the female anatomy is like fucking is played out and ridiculous, is fucking ridiculous, and it's fucking stupid. It's not right, it's not logical. Even the only thing that's real is, for some people, is making it to heaven. For some people, that is a battle in itself. I forged my path to success. For me, the only thing that's real is success. I would go to hell to be successful. And if I'm forced one day to have to answer to that statement and have to suffer in hell for like a little while and then reincarnate and do it again, I will answer to it with a smile on my face. And but do not look for ways. Stop trying to look for ways to do less. My thing is I'm always looking for ways to do more. That's like my secret to success. Always expect it to be difficult. Expect it to be, you know, treacherous and a grind and a real, like, fucking adventure. Don't expect it to be fucking easy. Don't expect it to be fucking easy. You know. Um, and you should always be looking for ways to do more. You know, whatever it is that you're trying to do, if you're trying to, build karma, or if you're trying to, whatever it is that you're trying to do, it's an all-in kind of thing. Money should be like an all-in, sort of an all-in, all-encompassing, is like the only thing you fucking care about in your fucking life until you get it. And it should be, and if you're 30 now, I say, like, seriously, just rather this is kind of like your last hoorah for making big shit happen in your life. Because if you expect in any way, shape, or form to be more successful than me, for example, um, if you expect in any way, shape, or form to be more successful than me, you've got a sad thing coming when you realize that I forged this path to billionaire status through blood and guts for all my life. Been through so much goddamn shit. So much goddamn work and effort and emphasis and sacrifice that I think that maybe in like 15 years, of full-time effort, you could be like more successful than I am right now. But are you really willing to do it is the question. It would take you 15 years to be better than if I just stopped and stagnated right now. And the fucked up thing is what I have right now is not that big of a fucking goddamn deal. I can't imagine that having $1 trillion would be that big of a fucking goddamn deal. Life is a game. Life is a game. To me, is all just almost for pretend. Is like, I have to have a nice house. I have to have these experiences. I have to go to heaven or hell with a legacy. And I'm going to be like in heaven or hell, like on my computer, like my epic, like fucking like computer, like managing my legacy from the computer that I have in heaven. And my heaven is going to be hell, being a devil. So, yeah, and I suppose, guys, the only thing that's real is pleasure and pain. The only thing that's real is pleasure and pain. And for me, it's my job to experience a pleasureful existence on this earth. So that I can have a pleasureful, my next life, my afterlife is going to be a reflection of how I lived this life. So, what the difference is it's going to be a lot more laid back. That's my revelation, is like if I experience pleasure in this life, is not to optimize for pleasure, is try to maintain balance. That on one hand, you realize that family is like strangers. You don't even know who your kids are until they're like 18 or 30. You don't even know who the fuck your kids are until they're like 30 or 40, really. By that point you're like dead. So, anyways, So do not look for ways to escape the fucking grind. Embrace the fucking grind. Always be looking for ways to put in more, and embrace every single aspect of every attribute of everybody who's ever been successful. Karma is fucking real. It's so goddamn real. You need to be willing to go to any fucking length, any extreme, any little idea that pops into your mind of like, oh, maybe this will make me more successful. And you have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to do literally that. To go to the most extremes, the most daring and bold extremes of the depths of fucking despair, of like pain and suffering. And like, it's in pain and suffering that you decide if you're willing to do what it takes. And like, when it comes to the compromises of like, what are you really willing to give up in order to achieve amazing shit in your life, sometimes the answer is no. Like, would you sacrifice your child's life in order to succeed? For me, the answer is no. But the answer was yes for everything from the age of 3 to the age of 26, 29 actually. And it wasn't until literally last year that I decided that enough is enough. I felt like I was down to my last few decisions. I was really down to my last few decisions of what are you willing to give up in order to gain in this life. And it's my revelation that I will be like the one of the first or the first like multi-trillionaire in the world. I have like such high ambitions and such high hopes that the first person to discover me and get me on the Forbes list is like, I'll give them money. I would like to be on the Forbes list, or like to be in like a magazine or something would be like fucking awesome, or to live like a quiet life of inspiration. To live like a quiet life of inspiration would be like not such a bad thing either. So yeah, I mean just to kind of lay low, keep a low profile, and be like more or less like be like more or less you have to be very decisive, so you have to be willing to make the compromise in like a moment's notice, but I'm not going to go to like fucking hell for all eternity for financial success, but a little bit of hell, but not like fucking crazy amounts of hell. You know what I'm saying? That would be like some fucked up ass shit. But I would go to like crazy extremes. I would go to like crazy fucking lengths to succeed, And so for example, I mean, you don't have to go to fucking absolute lengths, I think. In dieting, well, let's think about it. I mean, if you have honestly cultivated in the human psychology, if you have cultivated such a treacherous existence where you must be like a fucking billionaire in order to prove those haters wrong. For me, it's not the case. It's like a combination of things for me. Is like channel all your pain and frustrations. And when people goddamn hurt your fucking feeling, channel that into your success. Life, on some level, is really all about success. And when I meet the fucking devil at the fucking gates of hell, I will meet him with a smiling face, and the truth will be revealed. For me personally, I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to answer to anybody. So, you have to, if you think about it, some people really have cultivated an ecosystem where they must be the fucking best ever. My life is so fucking miserable that someone could, that I could, have my balls chopped off. And that would be, a pretty nonchalant, decent, not bad kind of fucking day. We're talking, a casual, cutting off of my balls, not you know, getting rejected by a female. If that's the worst fucking thing that's happened to you this week, you live a pretty good fucking life compared to me. This whole earth, fucking sucks. And, I'm willing to prove that I want it more than you. But some things, I have. To be honest and say, I'm not willing to go to any fucking length. I won't fucking go to eternal suffering just to experience one lick of a good life, And it's some people have that, I had that. I wanted to be rich so fucking bad that I was willing to go to hell for all eternity to experience riches for 5 minutes. And then pretty much when I got rich, listen, I think the rules for me are a little bit different than the rules for everyone else because I'm really fucking old. I'm an old soul. And I don't have to do the same shit that other people do in order to achieve crazy amounts of success and shit. In my worldview, in my worldview, so, yeah, I'm not willing to give up my family in order to be rich. Maybe at one point I would have done some shit like that, but like I don't want to understand my family, like I think I understand my family perfectly well. Is that my uncles are like 60 and like fat. My uncles are like 60 and fat. And I don't want to have to understand that. I want to be looking like good all my life. So yeah, don't look for ways to do less. Less is not more. More is more.